everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Now, it's been a little while since I have sat down and chatted with you all, but I have been working on some lovely things that I'm really looking forward to giving you a quick peek at. Now, of course, if you are aware of the fact that I was knitting this, you will notice that I am wearing a finished object, which is my Sock Moon sweater, which I will talk to you about in greater detail in just a minute. I have also finished one of my projects that I started ages ago that has kind of been on the back burner because, yeah, I find working with cotton frustrating, and that is the Lanta bag. So I will go into those two finished objects in a moment. I have also got a couple of gorgeous textured knits on my needles for my Textured Fall Cal, which I'm hosting over on Instagram. If you are interested in participating in that, just drop me a message over on my Instagram. I will put my handle down below. We would love to have more people join. I've seen so many amazing projects already, and it's just been really fun to chat and share ideas with a lot of other really creative ladies. But yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get into showing you the details of this gorgeous Sock Moon sweater. Now, as some of you will know, I actually started knitting this sweater all the way back, kind of at the end of summer. I am not a quick knitter by any means, I will be the first to admit that. But this project did take me a little bit longer than I expected because I did have to do quite a bit of frogging. Now, the Sock Moon sweater is quite a simple construction. It has a beautiful raglan detail that kind of creates holes that looks very dainty, that goes down from your neck to your kind of armpit area. That's how you create increases from the collar to the right size at your bust. And the pattern does have quite a bit of ease. I believe I achieved about a 25cm sort of extra ease. And I am such a huge lover of a lot of positive ease. I find when I'm actually shopping for jumpers, or when I used to shop for jumpers, because honestly, since I've started knitting, I basically haven't bought any knitwear, apart from the odd thing, I think secondhand from Vinted. I basically haven't added to my knitwear collection at all if it isn't made by me. But I used to really gravitate towards this type of fit. It's kind of oversized, very sort of slouchy and very effortless. I don't have to think about what I'm going to pair them with. They're going to look good with almost any pair of trousers, and that has definitely been true of this Sock Moon jumper. The reason why this took me quite a bit longer than I expected is because I did a significant amount of frogging when I got down to the bottom of the body. And the designer actually adds short rows, not at the top by the neck, where you would normally expect them to be, but all the way down at the bottom, at the back, so kind of like where your bum is, which I've never seen done before, and I did find a little bit unusual, but you know, I was trusting the process and I knit these short rows because I was thinking, oh, I have to include short rows, otherwise the fit won't be right. But the pattern instructions don't actually tell you how to maintain this beautiful, like, transparent kind of look with the short rows. So it's just a block of black instead of having any of that beautiful kind of single strand mohair transparent bit. And this big chunk of just solid colour at the bottom of my jumper by my bum, it was just not quite right. So I made the tough decision of ripping back and frogging a load of that, which I do find very scary, but when it has to be done, it has to be done. Now I'm a little bit sort of more mature in my knitting kind of journey. I don't feel as bad about frogging as I used to, and this was the perfect example of just needing to bite the bullet and just frog. And oh my goodness, the difference that this made to the look and feel of this jumper. Now I will include some images of before I blocked it, and you will see that the yarn, because of the two different textures of this fluffy cashmere and merino, both of which are from Norli. Kind of had a little bit of like an accordion effect when I finished knitting it, which I was a little bit concerned about, but I'm happy to report that after a really good block, that kind of accordion textured effect disappeared completely, and it's now very flat and very smooth and kind of exactly what I hoped for when I started out making this project. Now, I like the fluffy cashmere on its own in these sheer sections, and it's so soft against the skin. I mean, I've never used a yarn like this fluffy cashmere that is a blend of cashmere, merino and silk. I'm much more used to using mohairs, but having actually created a garment that is against my skin in this beautiful fine kind of fibre, I will definitely look into experimenting with different types of second strand or like fluffy yarns. In the close-ups here, I will give you a quick look so that you can see the details of that gorgeous raglan and the sheer sections. In this video clip, I am pairing this jumper with a skin-coloured thermal underneath that I will give you a quick peek of. This is just one of the Heat Tech thermals from Uniqlo. I have also worn it out for dinner a couple of times with a black camisole underneath, which is also really nice. It feels a little bit more kind of dressed up, I guess, because of the sheer segments. It is, yeah, there is just something about it. I really enjoy wearing it like that as well. So yeah, there were a few kind of very minor issues with the pattern itself. Nothing that would kind of impede your enjoyment of knitting it, but just things that maybe could benefit from like another look and another edit. However, overall, just such a beautiful kind of classic jumper. Already, since I've finished it, I have worn it several times. I love the length, which really grew when I washed and blocked it, which I'm so thankful for, because I was a little bit worried because of how bunched up it was looking. And yeah, the ease, everything is just spot on about this. And it has made me a little bit curious about how much I need to rely on short rows, funnily enough, because this is actually the first jumper I've made where I've completely omitted short rows, and I feel like maybe the fit on me personally is better than some jumpers that I actually add short rows to. So that's something a little bit curious and a little bit strange that I'm going to have to look a bit more into. But overall, I would highly recommend this piece if you're looking for something that you can wear out in the evening to feel a little bit more dressed up. I just find it goes with everything, it always looks good, and nobody can really tell that I've made it myself. When I wore it out for dinner with my boyfriend's mum, she was amazed that I made it myself, and yeah, it just looks really polished and definitely something that I'm going to treasure. Now, moving on to my next project, which is another one that I have been working on for ages, and funnily enough, another one that I've kind of had a few issues with, but this one hasn't been because of any kind of problems with the pattern. It really has just been me not counting things properly, not always following the instructions. This is something that I have chatted about with a few people on the Textured for Cal Instagram group, and it's that the more confident you get, sometimes you get it in your head that you don't really need to do the basic things of reading and counting. And I will tell you now, you need to read and count, okay? You need to. You need to pay attention to the numbers and follow the pattern properly. And I didn't do that with the Lanta bag. So the Lanta bag pattern, it is this beautiful kind of like shopping bag that has holes that are created with a yarn over repeat texture. It is a very sort of satisfying and addictive texture to knit. I really enjoy how structured the stitches actually feel when you knit them up. They feel like the bag won't stretch too much, and so far mine hasn't really stretched at all. I've used it a couple of times and for quite a lot of shopping, and it seems to be holding up really well. However, the pattern does have something in it that I couldn't wrap my head around, and therefore I decided to omit. Now, the pattern sort of stitch repeat is actually supposed to go all the way around. So that means when you come to the sides, you are actually supposed to do something slightly complicated and sort of do a sort of slipping of stitches over, which I just felt it was too much. I don't know, I picked up this bag pattern thinking I wanted something really quick and easy to knit in the summer, guys, so many months ago, and it hasn't been that, and it's been my fault, but I just haven't been able to wrap my head around certain things. I had a problem with swatching the textured stitch pattern, and then I didn't follow the instructions up the side, so I kind of like hacked it and made up my own instructions, which means, as you will see in the video here, I do have a line that goes up the side, but I felt like I would rather have a line on the sides of my bag than have to do this very fiddly sort of slipping of stitches over from one section to the other, especially because if you buy this pattern and you look at the kind of text description, it's not the intuitive and easy thing you would expect. It is a little bit sort of cumbersome, so I just skipped it, basically. And yes, that does mean I have a line and it doesn't look as perfect as it could. However, I also feel like life is too short to spend your time knitting something in a way that just annoys you. But yeah, here is the finished bag after that very long and rambly disclaimer. Even though it was a little bit fiddly with my changes, I'm happy with this knit overall. I know I'm going to get tons of wear out of it. It is that very classic market bag that, especially in the warmer months, will just look good with everything and also be really, really practical. And because I knit this up in this lovely Hobbii cotton yarn, that's undyed, I believe, I will be able to just chuck it in the washing machine when it looks a little bit dingy. So that's a really good thing about it too. Now, aside from the lovely, very sturdy stitch pattern of the Lanta bag, I also enjoy how strong and kind of like hardy the handles feel. I have full confidence in filling this up with a whole weekend load of shopping, including a bottle of wine, and I will not be afraid of it breaking. I'm telling you, you can put a lot into this and it still holds its shape and looks quite chic, and yeah, I'm very happy with the way that it turned out. This cotton yarn from Hobbii is a really nice choice for a bag like this because it is natural fibres and it adds quite a lot of stability to your finished object, but I am just not really someone who enjoys the feeling of knitting with plant fibres very often. I'm just a lover of very kind of stretchy like wools and alpacas that have a lot of give and that kind of move with you when you knit with them. My problem with certain plant fibres, so cotton and then also things like silk, is that they tend to not have any give at all, so it can feel quite hard on your hands when you're actually knitting stitches together. So that was another reason why this was one that I tended to pick up and then put down kind of sporadically, just because the feeling in my hands is not the same as when I knit with something like a wool. Okay, now I've rounded up my two finished objects, I'm going to give you a glimpse at what I'm working on, which I'm super, super excited about. There are two larger patterns that I'm currently knitting that I did mention in my last vlog, but I'll give you a little look of them. And then there's another new thing that I have started for the kind of gifting season as it approaches. And all of them I am just so thrilled with how they're turning out. Now, my first work in progress is the Beatrix cardigan, which I mentioned I wanted to knit back in one of my kind of pattern videos that I will link for you down below. This is by the very talented designer Gregoria fibres, and I have to say it is flying off my needles. The yarn that I got for this project is the very special chocolate brown yarn that I sort of splurged on when I hit my 10k milestone in my last video. I really just had a vision for this cardigan because the waffle stitch and cables are so intricate and kind of rich and just like, ooh, you know, juicy. I really wanted the perfect colour to give me that kind of cozy, warm, rich feeling. So this gorgeous chocolate brown was the perfect choice for that. Now I achieved this finished colour by blending 2 yarns together. One is the Pura Lana, which is a mix of wool and alpaca. This on its own would have been also an equally gorgeous choice, but as soon as I saw the Vivienne mohair, and both of these are from an Italian brand called Sesia, I couldn't resist. The Vivienne mohair has definitely lived up to the hype that I was giving it last time I spoke to you all. It is such a gorgeous mohair yarn. Definitely comparable in softness to something like a Knitting for Olive, so just an extremely smooth, dreamy, fluffy experience. It doesn't tickle my skin when I've done a quick sort of test of holding it against my neck, and overall I'm just really impressed with the quality of both of these options from Sesia. Really worth the splurge if you're wanting to make yourself something special. The Beatrix cardigan has been a really rewarding knit because of its unique and interesting construction. The standout feature in this gorgeous cardigan is of course its thick chunky cables that run all the way down the arms. These are sort of started off by using a really kind of interesting construction method that I've never tried before, which is a saddle shoulder construction where you do your cast on and you essentially knit the cables first before you start to fill in that body with that gorgeous squishy waffle texture stitch pattern. Now this cable design is a real joy to knit up. It looks really classic and is simple enough that you don't feel like you have to use too much brain power to wrap your head around it. As you're making it, you quickly kind of get into the hang of it and you go with the flow, and it's like, okay, I understand. And I would say the same about the waffle texture, which just gives the finished fabric such a lot of like squish. Of course, the next thing I have to do for this beautiful Beatrix cardigan is find the perfect buttons. I may add in an upcoming vlog a few different options of buttons because I have a few directions that I'm thinking about going for this. Now, I'm naturally drawn to, because of my love of tortoiseshell, I'm naturally drawn to tortoiseshell buttons. I could genuinely put them on almost any garment and I would be satisfied and happy. But there are a few other options that I might consider for this, so I may go button shopping and see what they have. So yeah, this is the progress that I have made on my Beatrix cardigan. As you can see, I have started that saddle shoulder construction and I have knit quite a bit of the back. The Beatrix cardigan does also include short rows up at the neck that are done within the pattern, so they're completely invisible. And I'm just really thrilled at how this is turning out. I will say it has taken me longer than I had hoped. I thought I would be maybe halfway done, but I kept on struggling. Again, my fault, not counting, not reading. I kept struggling with basically knitting my cables in the wrong direction. So when it's flat, you can see that the cables both kind of go like that. And I was essentially making one cable like this at the beginning, and then I had my stitches, and then I had one cable going like that, which, as you can see, this could be difficult if you were trying to wear it. So I had to frog that whole cable thing 2-3 times, which is ridiculous, truly. And I kept on thinking I'd got it right, but no, apparently not. I'm very relieved that I got over that sort of stupid hiccup, and I am now finally getting stuck in to all of that beautiful textured stitch. I really hope to have this one done very soon because I have a vision for the outfit that I want to style it with that I can't wait to share with you all. Now, my next big project, as the Beatrix cardigan was of course part of my textured fall cal, my next one is too, which is maybe ambitious of me because I don't know if I'll have everything done for that deadline of when I'm supposed to finish in the beginning of December, but I'm gonna try because I am in such a knitting mood at the moment. My knitting mojo is back like big time. I put that down to the fact that we also went on holiday to Norway last month, which was so much fun. I didn't buy a lot of yarn, I just bought a very small quantity of Norwegian wool that I will show you here. I'll talk more about this in another video when I've decided what to make with it, but such a gorgeous trip. I mean, Oslo was absolutely sensational, so much good food, and we enjoyed it so very, very much. I can't wait to go back. So yeah, since coming back from our trip, I have had just the urge to knit, really. And I have started my Magda sweater in this lovely yarn, which is the Hjelholts Uldspinderi, oh, if that's right, Handvaerksgarn. This is a special yarn that I got for my birthday when I went to Copenhagen, and it is a beautiful Danish wool. It's very toothy and rustic and a little bit prickly, so I will probably need to wear a thermal or a top sort of to keep my skin from getting scratched by the wooliness. But it is just such a treat and such an interesting textured yarn. And in my last video, I said I was going to make Petite Knit's brand new Dagmar cardigan. However, having seen that she posted a little teaser of her Dagmar sweater, I decided to hold out and wait for that to be released because I just adore this in sweater form. Her version is in this beautiful kind of moody charcoal, and I will attach a picture of it right here. I love how warm, cozy and cuddly, but also very classic this jumper looks. I think that it will fit in perfectly with a lot of the stuff that I like to wear, whilst also being a little bit of a challenge. So allowing me to try out some new cabling techniques and just play with a load of texture. And this is how much I've done so far. So not loads, but I am making slow progress. And of course, as you can see, my idea of being a monogamous knitter has completely gone out of the window. I really am so scatty at the moment, and I'm just knitting things that are making me feel excited, which is really fun and has allowed me to reconnect with some of the joy of actually just knitting. Instead of making myself kind of sit down and like focus and finish things, I'm just picking up things depending on how I feel, what I want to make on that day, and what type of kind of attention level I want to give to my projects as well. Because this sweater and the cardigan are textured, they do require a little bit of focus, but again, I've been enjoying the challenge and I am just so excited to add these to my wardrobe. I think that they are just going to be such classics and I'm going to get so much wear out of them. Now my final work in progress is the first of my gift knits, and this is something that I'm making for a very special new addition to the family. My boyfriend's sister is pregnant and she is going to be having her baby in the new year. So I have decided to make their baby a beautiful little baby bear bonnet by Knitting for Olive. I have seen this bonnet all over Instagram and for such good reason. It is just the cutest thing. It is a tiny little bonnet with little ears that will make the baby hopefully look like a tiny little bear. I am knitting it up in this really gorgeous alpaca baby, which seems right, from Lanar. And I wanted to go for this sort of colour as this is kind of like a classic teddy bear shade. I was between using this or using like a chocolate brown, but I feel like this lighter sort of beigey camel colour will be perfect for a little baby. And so nice to actually make something for someone tiny, because when you knit for yourself, especially if you like small needles like I do, Oh my goodness, it does take a long time. So making something for a little baby has been such a nice change. Now I've talked at you for an absolute age, I am gonna go and I'm gonna get some knitting done. Thank you very much for watching this video. I am so happy to be working with some of my favourite sort of fibres now that it's properly cold here in Italy. And I just wish you lots of fun knitting up something nice and warm and cosy, and maybe starting off your gift knits. I'm really excited to see anybody making those. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and happy knitting. Bye!